For the tomato ragu, you need an onion and some garlic. And I'm just going to peel my onion and garlic first. So garlic, blade of the knife down to the board, press hard, hopefully you'll hear it crack, and then you should be able to peel the skin off your garlic quite quickly, and that can go to one side. With the onion, try and get all the dry skin off the outside first, but don't spend too long doing this because it's actually easier to take the skin off once you've cut the onion in half. So using bridge hold and going through your fingers, cut the onion in half through the root. That makes it much easier to then just peel the layers off the outside. So peel off all the dry layers that you don't want to be chopping, and we need to chop the onion and the garlic. So with the onion, I'm just going to take one end off. I'm going to leave the root end on because I like that to help hold the root together. And then normally I would use bridge hold, and I'm going to cut through the onion, and I do it this way round. But what I'm not going to do, if I take my hand away, I am going to cut nearly to the end of the onion, but not all the way through. So you can see I'm not actually getting to the root, and I'm just going to swap back to bridge hold because that makes it much easier to do that. When you've been all the way round, your onion should still be holding together, and you can turn it and swap to claw grip. So keeping your fingers back, keeping the knife against your knuckle, you can then hold your onion together and cut across that way to get a nice small pieces of chopped onion. As you get towards the end, I like to hold on to the root, and I don't bother to chop all of the onion, but I have nice finely chopped onion. So I'm just going to do the other half, and it's the same thing. Take the growing end off, through my fingers, bridge hold, nearly through but not quite, turn the onion around, slice down onto your board to get small bits of onion, and throw away the root end. The garlic needs to also be chopped, so just cut this into slices, turn it around, and then chop again. So I'm just going to chop across my slices, holding it together and keeping my knife away from my fingers. When you've done that a little bit, you can then rock your knife over the garlic until you are happy with the size of the pieces. Once you've chopped your onions and tomatoes, you need to put a tablespoon of oil in your saucepan and bring that up to heat. And the easy way to tell when your oil is up to heat is if you put one piece of your onion into the oil and wait, you will be able to see when it starts sizzling. So you'll know when it's hot when it starts to sizzle. My one piece of onion is now sizzling. You can hopefully, possibly see the bubbles around it. So I'm just going to add the rest of the onion in. You can hear that the fat is hot. And I'm just going to stir that. You can see it's steaming. And I'm going to stir that until the onion is cooked. So just need the onion to go clear. When it starts off in the pan, it's still very white, and we need it to go clear so that we know that it is cooked. Haven't put the garlic in yet because the garlic can burn, and this will take just a couple of minutes to cook down. Some of the onion is now starting to change colour and looks clear rather than white, so I'm just going to add the garlic now and cook that for another couple of minutes, because we don't want raw garlic in this sauce any more than we wanted raw onions. So just give that another few minutes. I want all the onions to be clear and the garlic to start to cook before anything else goes into the pan. You need a nice gentle heat to do this. You should be able to hear the sizzling, but we don't want it to be too hot and the onion to burn. When your onion is cooked through and it's translucent, you need to add a whole can of tomatoes to your pan. And it did sizzle a little bit, but I need to bring this up to the boil, so I'm just going to turn the heat up a little bit. And I've just put a tiny little bit of water in my can to rinse the can out with to get a bit more of the tomato out. This needs to come up to the boil, and I'm going to add a little bit of basil to this. So you can use fresh basil. I don't have fresh basil, so I'm going to put some dried basil in. You can put anything between half a teaspoon and a teaspoon into this mixture. It depends how much you like. I've put about a teaspoon in because I like basil. And when this comes up to the boil, turn your heat up. Once it comes up to the boil, and we know that everything is hot, you need to turn this down to simmer. You do not need to stir it all the time, but you do need to stir it occasionally and keep an eye on it so that you know that it is gently simmering and not going to stick at the bottom. So there we go, it's just coming up to the boil. You can see the bubbles around the outside of the pan, so I'm going to turn that down so it stays bubbling gently, and that needs to cook for 15 minutes. Longer if you've got the time, but if not, 15 minutes. After 15 minutes of bubbling, your tomato ragu should have gone down a little bit, so that it should be a bit more concentrated. Shouldn't, however, have boiled dry and be sticking, and it will be much thicker. There we go. And that's your tomato ragu completed. The only other thing that you need to do is to taste it and adjust the seasoning if you think it needs adjusting.